Hello, folks. Welcome. Welcome to our evening with the president. We're going to get started in just a few once everyone files in. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good evening, everybody. We're glad you're joining us tonight. We're going to get started in just a second. Allow folks to kind of file in. It looks like folks are still coming in, so we're going to give it another second or two. Get comfortable. I hope you guys have been thinking about questions. Thanks for some of you putting them in the registration form in advance. We're going to start with those tonight. Okay. I think we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm so glad that you all have been able to join us this evening for our conversation and with question and answer with the president this evening. So as we get started, my name is Melissa Yakubowski. You may have seen me a few times before for some of our admitted student events. I'm so glad that you are joining us again. This session is being recorded, so do know that we are in a webinar format. So we can't see or hear you. Don't stress if the phone rings or the dogs bark. You may hear both at my house this evening. But we'll be using the Q&A feature for you to ask questions of the president in just a short while. So be thinking of those. And you can even begin to put some in the Q&A feature that you see in our webinar this evening. I am so delighted that you'll get to hear from our president. Dr. Paino came to UMW in July of 2016 after serving 6 years as president of Truman State in Missouri, a university with a similar public liberal arts and sciences mission. He's a highly distinguished national leader who recently completed a presidential cycle with the Council on Public Liberal Arts Colleges. When we're not restricted by COVID, he is a staple at athletic events. He's done push-ups with our student veterans to raise awareness for veteran mental health. He's ridden a horse around campus. He's actually coasted down Hanover Street on a giant inner tube water slide on Eagle Nation Day. And he's even hung out with rappers in the Anderson Center before a concert. He is both engaged and accessible. He really enjoys being around students, and he's just pretty cool. He's also a tremendous advocate for our students when he's not on campus. He's rallying our state leaders in Richmond to gain support for critical community needs or developing relationships with alumni and other supporters to cultivate resources for student scholarships. And parents, if you're joining us this evening, he has actually been where you are right now, twice. If you have joined us at open houses, you've heard me share that when it was announced that Dr. Paino would become our president, we had an inkling that he would be pretty awesome based on an open letter from a Truman student to the students in Mary Washington saying, President Paino is a man that puts every ounce of himself into making the community around him great. And we have absolutely found that to be true. So I'm so pleased to introduce you to him for our conversation this evening, UMW's 10th president, Dr. Troy Paino. Dr. Paino?
Thank you, Melissa, and welcome everyone. I wish I could see you, and I hope that the day that I get to see you and be in your presence is very, very soon. I'm just going to speak for a few minutes about why I love being a part of the Mary Washington community. I'm finishing my 5th year here at Mary Washington, and I can tell you it really is a special place. And so I just want to speak for a few moments about what I think is so special about Mary Washington. And then I want to get right to your questions as quickly as possible so that we can have a conversation. And I know that you probably have a lot of questions on your mind about college in general and about Mary Washington in particular. First of all, I just want you to know that we've all been thinking about you. We know that this has been an incredibly challenging time in your lives. It's a difficult time, even under the best of circumstances, to be going through a transition. And you certainly are going through a transition where you're closing the chapter in one part of your life and looking forward to the next. But to be doing it amid a pandemic, incredibly challenging. And so those of you who have been going through your senior year, maybe losing some of the experiences that you so desperately wanted to finish out your high school career, and a little anxious about the next phase and what college might be like in the fall, and not being maybe in high school, being able to talk to your counselors as much, or being able to interact with people as much. Maybe you just have a lot of anxiety about what to expect. And we're here to try and answer those questions, to try and help you as much as possible. But I can tell you that we're a place that's incredibly invested in you. And we are already thinking about you. Even if I can't see you, we're already thinking about hopefully you becoming a part of this amazing community. The first thing that I'll say about what makes this place so special is that I wanted to come to a place that a president gets an opportunity to get to know the students and to become a part of the community. I didn't want to be at a place where a president is off, into their office somewhere, so many steps removed from students that students might not even know who the president is or what the president looks like. I wanted to be at a place where I could really see sort of what was going on with students, but also hear from them. I went into this work because I wanted to invest in student lives and young people who were looking for meaning and purpose, who wanted a transformative educational experience. And I wanted to be a part of offering that. And I don't want to be detached from student life. And so I really love being here at Mary Washington, where students really have access. And I think Kyrie can tell you this. They have access not only to faculty and staff, but really to administrators as well, and to the president. And I can tell you that students have a very loud voice here at Mary Washington. Every place will tell you that they're student-centric, but I can tell you, I've worked at many places. I don't think there's any place that I know of that is more student-centric than Mary Washington. I can tell you just even one of the things that I love the most about the course of my semester or my academic year is that we have this thing called student lottery dinners. And this is an opportunity for students to put in their name and their name to get pulled, and for them to come over to Brompton, the house where I live, my wife Kelly and I live, and they come over for an evening with us where we get to walk around the grounds in Brompton and talk about the history of Brompton. And then we get to sit down for dinner and we get to know each other. And we just had one of these dinners on our back porch, socially distanced, outside, mid-COVID, being very careful. But we just had one of those dinners this last Monday. And every time I have one, we try to do one each month, I got to tell you, I walk out really inspired. And this is why I want to be at a place where I get to interact students. And I can tell you that our students are really, really interesting people. Mary Washington has the good fortune of attracting really interesting, not just smart, not just goal-oriented, but really interesting students. Who have come here to sort of not only sort of live the best version of themselves, but also to find purpose and meaning. And they come from various backgrounds. I just am always amazed at some of the life stories that I get to hear from our students. But I also am so inspired by what they're doing here at Mary Washington and what their hopes and dreams are for their future. And so I think first and foremost, the thing to me that makes Mary Washington special is our amazing students and how interesting they are, but also how accepting they are. This is a place that really does accept people for who they are. And so you can be your authentic self here at Mary Washington. They're also very service oriented. I got to tell you that this is a place that attracts young people who not only come to get an education for their own personal ambition, but they also want to figure out how to make the world a better place, how to find their place in the world, but also how to give back. And this is one of the things that we can talk about later. I think it's why Mary Washington has distinguished itself amid COVID because of how the students reacted to this, being very community minded. So this is a really interesting place because of those students, but I got to also tell you that our faculty are amazing. Our faculty come to Mary Washington because they want to work with undergraduate students. There are a lot of fine institutions across the Commonwealth, but this is a place not only that's student-centric, but that the faculty really, both in their teaching, but also in their scholarship, incorporate students. I mean, this is a place where students, undergraduate students, can become a part of a faculty scholarly agenda where you can start getting engaged in applied and very active learning experiences. That's a focus here at Mary Washington, is to be able to offer you that kind of experiential learning, whether it's doing undergraduate research, it's doing internships, field experiences. That is something that our faculty are very mindful of bringing the students into that very highly engaged, very applied learning experience in a liberal arts setting. And I also have to say our staff is amazing. We have some staff with us here tonight, but our staff here understand that they are educators too. It's not just our faculty who are educators, that so much of what happens at Mary Washington happens in that space in between classes. And I think Kyrie could certainly attest to that, that it's not just what happens in that 15 or 16 hours a week that you're sitting in a class, but really some of the most meaningful learning experiences happen in that space in between, whether it's in the residence halls or in your student club, or just being on Ball Circle and hanging out in the Adirondack chairs on beautiful, or going down campus walk or sitting on a bench. Those relationships, those experiences, and our staff are very, very invested in student lives, not only the academic, educational, traditional educational component, but also in the whole person, because we recognize that a part of college is the development, not just of your mind and your body, but everything about who you are and your own sense of self and where you fit in the world. So we have amazing staff who are incredibly empathetic and highly invested in students' success outside the class. And then the final thing I'll just touch on is that it's really a place with, I think, an incredibly important mission, but also the culture of this place. This is a place whose mission, we certainly focus on your private ambitions, your personal ambitions, and want the best for you in terms of your own professional success in your life. But this is also a place that has a public mission that wants to make sure that students are civically minded, that they're engaged in their communities. And we have a Center for Community Engagement that allows students to get very involved in the community, to find out ways that they can give back. We think this is critically important here. This is a part of our mission. And then the culture. As I said earlier, this is a place that's incredibly inclusive and accepting, where we want students to be who they are. And we do not judge. One of my favorite quotes is from Walt Whitman, don't be judgmental, be curious. And I think that is what Mary Washington is in a nutshell, is that we're not a place of great judgment, but we're a place of great curiosity. And we really want people to be able to live the best version of themselves here, and we're very invested in that. So I can tell you that this is a beautiful place. It's a beautiful campus. We take advantage of our location, being so strategically located near Washington, D.C., but also Richmond, right on 95. There's so many opportunities, learning opportunities. Fredericksburg itself is an amazing historic town where there's so much to do, and you're with walking distance to get to downtown, historic downtown, and take advantage of everything that Fredericksburg has to offer. But Melissa, I'd like to get to the questions as quickly as possible so that we can hear what's on the students' mind.
Sounds great. Thanks, Dr. Paino. I am excited. I do want to introduce you guys to a couple of other folks that are joining us this evening. We also have Kyrie Ford. Some of you remember Kyrie virtually from our open houses this year. Some of you have even said hello recently on campus during your visit, which is kind of fun too. He works closely with Dr. Paino in his roles as SGA and class of 2021 president. So we're excited to have him this evening and be a part of the conversation. He's probably going to ask a question or two. He might also answer a question or two. We're also excited to see Sammy D. Eagle on camera. Sammy is going to actually tweet a few questions, or at least one, and maybe respond to a question as well. So again, they'll take some sharing responsibility in asking questions and offer some of their perspective too. So just as a reminder, I see that you guys are already starting to put some of the questions in the Q&A, which is fantastic. If you like a question another student or parent has asked, you can also like it and essentially upvote it. We are going to try to get through all the questions that we can this evening, but know that if we don't get to your specific question, don't worry, we will follow up with you later. As long as you include your name with your question, you don't ask it anonymously, we will answer it if we don't get to it this evening. So we're actually going to start. I really appreciate that that you guys did load some questions in when you registered, and we're going to actually begin with those. And I can see some of them are a little bit are repeating already. So good. Kyrie, do you want to ask the first one?
Of course. So the first one is to Dr. Paino. And the question says, Dr. Paino, I know that this year, I know this has been a year, and some of the students would like to know how UMW has managed COVID. What did you think we did really well with COVID that might set us apart from other universities?
Well, thank you, Kyrie. This is a great question. And as I said earlier in my comments, I think Mary Washington's response to COVID in some ways really speaks to what is distinctive about this place. The students have been amazing. I can tell you that when life started changing for all of us back in the spring of 2020, and when we had to send students home, this community, kicked into high gear. First of all, to focus on our students who went home to make sure that they finished this semester, and our faculty were amazing in terms of how they adapted their face-to-face classes to the online format. But what was even more impressive is that when we got into summer and we were thinking about fall planning, and it was looking more and more likely that we were going to have to establish some significant protocols, and we were working with the governor's office and the Virginia Department of Health in terms of what these protocols might look like. Our faculty were working incredibly hard over the summer to make sure that they would prepare classes, high quality classes that would be virtual, that regardless of modality, that these were going to be Mary Washington type classes that really focused on the individual attention of students, that still gave students the benefit of being in small classes, that really focused on the best possible learning in an online environment. So many of them, it started to enroll in workshops. And these were workshops that we held that actually faculty from other institutions got involved with because they were so good. And our faculty worked really hard this summer, as did our staff, to prepare this campus and to establish the protocols that we would follow. But really what made it work in my mind is our students. When they came and they moved back on campus in September, were we nervous? Yes, we were nervous because we brought students on campus about 3 weeks later than a lot of other campuses. We wanted to kind of wait and we were waiting for test supply to come, and we were waiting for the cases to go down a bit. So we didn't bring students on campus till mid-September. And by the time we brought them on campus, we had already seen what had happened at some other schools, not only around Virginia, but across the country in terms of some significant surges, forcing some schools to actually send their students home. And so we were very nervous. But we were also confident because we know the nature of our students. And so when we asked them to follow the protocols of masking, of monitoring their conditions, of keeping their social distancing and keeping their hands clean. MMDC was the mantra around here, still is. Our students were just amazing. And we were just so impressed that as we got through the semester, just how few cases we had. And we really, and if you look throughout the Commonwealth, Mary Washington is a model for how well we have handled this situation. Has it been fun? No, it has not always been fun. I think Kyrie would tell you, just like for you in high school, it has, some of the experiences that we love so much about being on campus and being at Mary Washington have been diminished as a result of COVID-19. I'm not going to lie. But through it all, and I can tell you, in interacting with the students even this week, they still have gotten the feel of what this place is about and how invested our faculty and staff is in their success. So we have been incredibly successful, so well that we have two COVID-19 directors, and one of them has been asked to take the lead throughout the state for all of higher education. To work closely with the governor's office and the Virginia Department of Health, Dr. McClurkin, who is with us tonight to answer any specific questions you might have. And him and others have worked so hard to make sure that this is a safe place, not only to keep ourselves safe, but what was so impressive to me is that our students were very mindful of our effect on the broader Fredericksburg community. And I had a neighbor, a friend of mine in the community, who was bragging about our students and how careful they've been. And one time when they yelled out to one of the Mary Washington students to thank them for wearing their mask and following the protocols, the student turned around and said back to her, "We've got your back." And that says a lot about Mary Washington and our students. It wasn't only about keeping the campus safe, but it was about keeping the community safe as well.
There are a couple of other follow-up questions that are along the same lines. I think students are very anxious to kind of anticipate what fall is going to look like. So several questions, I'm going to toss them out to you, but how confident are you of normal classroom activities for the 2021 school year? Will students and faculty be required to get the COVID vaccine? And will students have the option to attend school from home?
Okay, let's see if I can tackle all of them. I'm very confident. Right now, we have, for the fall semester, we're planning on roughly 90% of our classes will return to the traditional face-to-face classes. Do I expect there to be some protocols still in place? Yes, I probably so. But I think they will be modest compared to what we have had over the course of this last year. For example, there might be settings on campus in a classroom, for example, where we would still expect you to wear a mask. But I'm expecting for campus life to return very much back to sort of a pre-pandemic normal and the life of campus to return. So that is our plan, and I'm confident. I'll say my confidence will grow over time if people go out and get those vaccines. When you are eligible and when you can, I want to encourage each and every one of you to get a vaccine, because I think that is our quickest path to herd immunity. I think that the pace of the vaccines is certainly something that gives us great optimism. We're seeing more and more access of in fact, our students here on campus are getting more and more access to those vaccines. And so with that gives me great confidence that we'll be in a good place in August when students move back on August 16th. In terms of requiring vaccines, we are going to follow VDH and CDC guidelines. We have not, like you maybe have read in the paper that some schools across the country, there is a handful that are requiring it. What we are doing is strongly encouraging it, as I just have already done in this meeting. And so that is a stop short of requirement, but we really, really are encouraging each and every one of you when you are eligible to get that vaccine. What's the last question, Melissa? Remind me.
Will students have the option to attend school from home?
Yeah, this semester, over half of our classes remained virtual. And so it was possible for a fair number of our students to be able to enroll for an entire schedule, a full load online or virtual. That is not going to be the case in the fall. That doesn't mean there won't be a few online classes that you could take from home. But I don't think you can will be able to be a full-time student and do it completely from home, because as I said, probably about 90% of our classes are going to return to face-to-face instruction.
Sounds good. Oh, I see Sammy has their hand raised. Now, Sammy doesn't actually speak, but Sammy can tweet. So Sammy, do you want to tweet your question to Kyrie?
I'm very impressed with those talons that you can, boy, I have hard time with my fingers, but with those talons must be a significant challenge.
Okay. Oh, I can ask this one, Sammy. Okay. This one again is for you, Dr. Paino. What makes Mary Washington unique?
What makes Mary Washington unique? Well, I touched on some of it in my comments. I think that just the strong sense of community. I mean, it has a perfect balance in my mind of individualism, where people can be their self, but they do it in the context of a very caring community, where our faculty, our staff, and our students really do watch out for one another and care for one another. So I think that's probably the first and foremost the thing that makes it unique. I think also it's unique because it's a school that I think is very mindful of offering a high quality liberal arts education, but doing it in a way that allows a lot of applied learning as well, that experiential learning that is so desired on the job market. There was just a survey of top employers by the American Association of Colleges and Universities, and it polled employers in terms of what they are looking for college graduates, and it looked like we were reading right out of Mary Washington's playbook in terms of what they want. They want certainly students have a certain aptitude, certain mindset, but it's critically important for them to see students who come out with the breadth of education, who are going to be lifelong learners and adaptable. And I think that is something that is really unique about the kind of education. We give some of that in-depth learning, some of those practical skills that are going to help serve you well in the job market. But we also focus on education and sort of the breadth of education that's going to prepare you for a lifetime and to be adaptable. We've seen how life can change on a dime these past 13 months. And I can tell you that 10 years from now, it is going to be hard to predict what the world is going to look like and what the job market's going to demand of you. And so the most important thing that you can get out of your college education is just not the immediate skill set that's going to get you that first job, but an education that is going to set you up well for a lifetime. And that is one of the things that Mary Washington really, really, really leans into.
One of the next questions I'm going to go ahead and take if it's okay. Basically, students are really excited about taking next steps, like registering for classes. And so they wanted to know, essentially, when new students, I have to put my glasses on, I'm so sorry, when new students will enroll in courses for fall 2021. So let me do just a quick rundown of next steps and how things are going to unfold a little bit later for you all this summer. So essentially, one of the first things that you get to do as a new student who's confirmed to come to Mary Washington for the fall is complete your first year questionnaire. And this asks you a variety of questions about your academic preferences. And one of the really fun things about this is that you get to identify your preferences for your first year seminar, which is a course that all students take that's very topical, discussion based, really introduces you to life in college in the academic classroom. And so you'll get to choose that, but it also allows you to kind of state preferences about how you might like to meet general education courses. You know, what kinds of social science courses you like, what kind of analytical thinking courses you may prefer, what kind of science courses you may prefer. And essentially, academic services is going to use those responses in your first year questionnaire to begin to build the your first courses on your schedule for fall. Ultimately, then you'll come for orientation. You'll start to get onboarded with students and staff at the university. Shortly after that, you'll actually have a summer advising session, a one-on-one session with a faculty advisor. And after that, you get to build the rest of your schedule. So you actually will have some choice and some opportunity to make adjustments if you'd like. Nothing is set in stone until the end of the ad drop, which is the first week of classes. And certainly, regardless of whether you come for the first session of orientation or the last session of orientation, we're actually to make sure that courses are open to students throughout that advising and registration period so that students have access to lots of different choices. So we're excited to kind of prepare and help onboard you with those. You'll have choices. It's not set in stone, but it'll be great information from your first year questionnaire that's used to help build your first semester schedule. So that's kind of how it's going to work. You'll actually get your schedule when you meet with your advisor. So you have that to look forward to later this summer. The next question was, when do freshmen move in? And Dr. Paino, you mentioned move-in day already.
Yeah, right? Move-in day is August 16th with orientation classes beginning on the 17th, and then the following Monday, which is August 23rd, will be the first day of classes. So that's the plan.
And we are excited. We're looking forward to it. June orientation registration sessions, I also want to mention, are going to open very shortly. So your final welcome week is what happens on beginning Tuesday, August 17th. So that'll be definitely something to look forward to. But registration for orientation in June is coming soon. Kyrie, the next question that was submitted during the registration period is maybe one that you might want to answer. And Sammy, if you have some ideas, feel free to text Kyrie as well. But as an out-of-state student, what ways can I get involved on campus and safely meet new people, especially considering there may be some COVID restrictions still in place?
Most definitely. I am probably one of the most involved people on campus. I don't know why. There's something that I want to do. I want to do it. We have over 150 student clubs on campus. All of them can be found on UMW Presence, which is a website that everyone has access to. You can look at all of the clubs that we offer. There are clubs from a cappella to swimming. There's club sports. There are they call themselves the Geek Alliance. So there's video game clubs. There's photography clubs. We have political clubs, so you can join different clubs like that. But also, one great thing about Mary Washington, if there's something that you have, you have an idea, or there's a club you want to start, or something that you think is really, really cool and we don't have it on campus, you have the ability to find an advisor, 3 other people, and bam, you started your own club. I know one of my friends, he really was into like Buddhist religion, and he wanted to start a Buddhism club. And so that's something that he did during this semester, and he recruited people on campus. So there's tons of things. Also, if you don't want to like join a club, but you want like to do something else, there's tons of campus jobs that you're able to get. And then there's also service-oriented things as well. We do have a core office, which is community engagement. So that's where you can work with project, I'm sorry, it's not Project Humanity. They build houses. I'm sorry. Habitat for Humanity. There we go. It was on the tip of my tongue. And then we do river cleanups. So there's lots of like environmental and sustainability things. There's just so much to do and so many people to meet. And even in like this season of pandemic, people have still gotten out, joined clubs. We had an election this year and it was contested. So people are getting involved and making sure their voices are heard. Student Senate, hello, I'm the president of SGA, so there's a whole Senate underneath me, so definitely join Senate. We're always looking for people on there. So I don't know, there's 100+ clubs and you can start your own, so yeah.
Very good. I'm gonna toss the next question out, which I thought this was a great question. President Paino, should we bring our own plates and utensils, or do the dorms have some?
Well, you know, we got you covered on plates and utensils, so you don't have to bring them. If you have a favorite plate and utensil that you just want to carry with you, if it's like a security blanket, that's fine. You know, we won't keep the plate from you. But I can tell you that, you know, one of the exciting things for first-year students is, you know, the work that we've been doing on some of our historic residence halls. And so, you know, we just opened recently Willard Hall, which is all beautifully newly renovated. It was actually the original residence hall back when Mary Washington first started back in the early part of the 20th century. And so it's over 100 years old, and it's now restored back to not only its original glory, but with all the modern amenities. And so it's just a beautiful space. And it actually has a twin on campus across from a fountain and next to Monroe Hall called Virginia Hall. And it is currently under renovation, and it will be opening this fall. And so it also will be this beautiful new facility. And then, of course, Randolph and Mason are also new, relatively newly renovated residence halls. So we're very excited about the work that's going on in the residence halls that you'll be moving into. So I know that's not a direct answer to the utensil question, but I just wanted to throw that in while I was talking about utensils.
Well, and I lived in Virginia my freshman year, and I lived in Willard my upper class year. So I've got fond memories. I just did a hard hat tour of the building. It looks great. It's coming along. I'm so excited for students to move in later this summer. I know that this year has been difficult to manage for students in many different ways, and particularly their mental health and well-being has been a concern. A student asked, how accessible is counseling on campus, and what is the process like for maybe starting that or applying for it?
Yeah, well, thank you for that question. Critically important. It's always important, but especially this past year, so important to be mindful of the mental health of our students and the added stress and anxiety that they're going through. And so our focus here at Mary Washington is sort of a holistic approach. You know, we really try to emphasize wellness. We know that mental health is one component of that, but we know it is connected to other types of health, such as physical, emotional, and the like. And so we certainly have a wellness program through through our fitness center and our rec program, very much connected to our counseling center at Tally Counseling Center. So we want students to be mindful of how to take care of themselves, whether it's through meditation, whether it's through physical exercise, whether it's through getting out and forming relationships and getting involved, all of those things that help us manage our stress and anxiety. But directly to your question, we have a wonderful counseling center called the Tally Counseling Center. And we've invested in that to have really highly skilled counselors at the student's disposal. And one of the great things about the counseling center is that there's no out-of-pocket cost for a visit. The cost of the counseling center is covered by the fees that you normally pay, the tuition fees that you pay to go to Mary Washington. So there's no additional cost to access that service. And so we encourage students who find themselves in need to please avail yourself to those services. The first thing is to reach out. And what happens when you reach the Tally Center, typically the goal is within 24 hours, you will have an initial consult that will last about 30 minutes so that they can kind of do a little triage and assess your situation to determine what the appropriate next steps are for you, depending on what it is you're struggling with at that particular point in time. And if the next step is to get a full-on appointment with a senior clinician, that will get scheduled just as quickly as possible. And then typically, if someone needs ongoing counseling throughout the semester, they will schedule regular, typically bi-weekly counseling session with students. And so we would certainly encourage any student who needs that sort of mental health support to avail themselves of the Tally Center and our expert counselors in that center.
And I did see that Diane has added the link to that if you want to connect directly within the chat. So feel free to grab that if you are interested. A couple of programmatic questions came through early on. Does the university have a criminal justice major or minor?
It does not. If you are interested in criminal justice, that we do have a faculty member who very expert, who we've recently hired, and she's amazing, who teaches criminal justice within our sociology department. So if that is something you are interested in, I would encourage you to look into the sociology major. Kyrie, is that your major? I believe it is. Maybe one of your majors?
That is one of my majors, and he's talking about Dr. Brew. She's amazing. I'm taking 2 classes with her this semester. Phenomenal. Take criminology if you're a sociology major. Also take race, crime, and neighborhoods. Fantastic. Sorry.
Yeah, no, great. I'm glad that you're there to answer that. I've had a chance to meet her, and I think she's amazing. So it's great to hear a student who's had a chance to take it. But, you know, a lot of it really, you know, what I would encourage if you're interested in criminal justice, there's so many paths, right? You know, and one of the great things about Mary Washington is that we have access to places like Washington, D.C., for example, and amazing internships. So if it's the FBI, for example, that you're interested in, if that's the path you want to take, we have pathways to explore those careers in criminal justice and to things like the FBI. And I saw a question in the Q&A, Melissa, if it's okay, I'll just go ahead and jump to it because there was a question about internships. And again, that's one of the strengths of Mary Washington is that, you know, those experiential applied learning are really incorporated into our curriculum in a very meaningful way. We think it's so valuable for students to get out into the field and have those applied learning opportunities. And many times they take the form of internships. And one of the questions was, well, how do you access or look into those internships? Do we have a center? And we certainly do. We have a Center for Career and Professional Development, and Paul Binkley is our director of that. And they are there to help students learn about internship opportunities and get them prepared to apply and to get those. But also our faculty are amazing, and the relationships within the programs, you know, that they, you know, once again, it's proximity to DC. We have experts in their field who've developed a lot of really meaningful relationships within their field to be able to help students get internships. So both faculty, academic advisors, but also our Center for Career and Professional Development are all there to help you have those opportunities.
And I just wanted to follow up, there was a second kind of additional question about them being paid. So there are some paid internships. I would say that there are probably more that are out there for credit that can count towards your degree at Mary Washington. So that certainly is an opportunity. They are very worthwhile and make wonderful connections that lead to careers, or maybe in other directions if you find that a career in particular is not well suited for you. So it's a great resource and certainly a wonderful skill developer. And I just want to mention again that we're the farthest point south on the Virginia Rail Express for Washington. So I know we talked a little bit about that earlier, but I can't stress enough how flexible that allows for the flexibility it allows for students to intern and take classes actually at the same time. So you can make arrangements in your schedule to be able to do both simultaneously, particularly with access to our big cities. I think there was just one other question from the chat or from the earlier registration. And does Mary Washington have an ROTC program on campus?
So we do not, but we have a partnership with George Mason. And so you can participate, you can be a Mary Washington student and also be an ROTC through George Mason. So that's how you access that opportunity. Perfect,
thank you. Okay, we're gonna shift gears and now go to the Q&A. So you guys had wonderful questions to start. Thanks so much for putting these in too. Top of the list is study abroad happening, and is it planned to happen again?
Well, the answer is yes. We are monitoring closely the developments in other countries before we open back up our study abroad opportunities for our students. Like other schools, we're focused first and foremost on safety. And so we need to make sure that those study abroad experiences can be done in a safe way. But we're very optimistic. We're very optimistic that those study abroad opportunities will start opening up next year. And certainly as the world gets safer and safer from COVID, we will open up even more and more of those opportunities. So certainly for new students, by the time you're ready for a study abroad experience, they will be there for you, and there are plenty of them.
Yep, we've got faculty-led trips to lovely destinations like Bonaire, where you can study coral reefs and get open water scuba certified. You can travel on your own, do community service projects in Nepal. You can, so many different things. And so the Center for International Education website is a great resource to kind of check some of those existing programs out. We're looking forward to those again. The next question is a little more on the residence life side of the house, so to speak. How is rooming during the pandemic? Will parents be allowed to come and help you set up your room when moving day arrives?
Yeah, those are great questions. Probably have read about some of the limitations on parental access to rooms on move-in days at Mary Washington and other campuses. That certainly was the case this past year. And we treated our residence halls and the roommates as a family, as a pod, if you will. And so the residential situation was very traditional in that sense, in terms of having roommates, and people were very safe and very conscious of all the protocols this past year. And as I said earlier, I expect that many of those protocols will be loosened. So it'll be very moderate, whatever those might be. In terms of parents, again, we are very hopeful that parents will be able to move their students in August. That's what we're planning for. Of course, with all the usual caveats that we're paying close attention to the virus and its variants and making sure that we're in a safe place to do so. So we're monitoring the situation very closely, but we're very optimistic at this stage of the game that parents will be able to help their student move in.
Wonderful. Are there new plans or goals that UMW has for the next few years? Are we considering maybe new majors or buildings or partnerships?
Yeah, that's great questions. The answer is yes to all of the above. If you come on campus right now, you will see a lot of construction going on, a lot of cranes, and actually, it's a pretty good year to have done a lot of that construction, as it turns out. We are really excited. I already mentioned Virginia Hall, that will be opening up for this fall. Very excited about that. That's right on beautiful Ball Circle, so it'll be great to have that fully restored. But by January of 2022, we will be opening up Seekebeck Hall, which is going to be the new home for the College of Education. Seekebeck is this really interesting historic building on campus, and I'm so excited for that to become the new home of for the College of Education and some other offerings there. So that's in January. We have some big plans. We're right now moving towards planning the construction of a new theater. So we are in the early stages of planning and architectural drawing for a new theater on campus, and a renovation of some additional academic buildings as a part of that house art and art history and theater and music. So that's down the road a little bit. So that's all exciting. In terms of new programs, we do. We're going to have, African American Studies is going to be a new minor at Mary Washington. So we're very excited about that. Our newest major is Communication and Digital Studies. That has just been around with us for a short while, but it has been incredibly successful, our fastest growing major. And so we certainly have a lot going on the curricular side as well. We've been able to receive some state funding to help expand opportunities in technology and healthcare and teacher prep. So data science, computer science, these are all things that are growing that we're investing in. So the answer on the academic programs is that yes, there are opportunities and going to be new opportunities in the coming years. There's so much more I could talk about, Melissa, on that, but I want to get to other questions.
I know.
There's so much going on, and I'm so excited about all the things that are going on that it's hard for me not to go on and on, but I'll stop there.
Oh, my question just moved around. And so the one I was going to ask is now gone. But I think it had a lot to do with, I'm gonna blank on it. So we're gonna move on to the next one. Do you know if there are any internships on campus for pre-vet? I can try to answer that one if you want me to.
I think that if you have the answer, if not, I would encourage that we get the students' contact. I know we have faculty who advise for pre-vet students. I don't know what kind of internship opportunities there are. I wouldn't be surprised that we have them. I just don't know what they are.
Well, and I have a little person in my ear who's telling me that internships are with veterinarians in the Fredericksburg area. And they also provide a great deal of volunteer opportunities to students. So definitely there are going to be options for you. I think one of the great things that maybe I could just talk about pre-health for a little bit is that both for pre-vet and some of our pre-health majors or pre-health programs and advising, students are really not just focused academically on gaining admission to graduate programs in those areas, but really cultivating, again, what they're applying in the classroom, what they're learning in the classroom in real world settings. And so that has become a far more critical piece of entry even into those graduate programs. And so we're going to make sure you've got a lot of good experiences and opportunities practically that are going to help make you competitive to go on to those programs and be further successful. So I think that's pretty good. So, well, and the next question that just came up is what type of jobs do biology majors from UMW typically have? And they do lots of things.
They do. I mean, that's one of our most popular majors, and you know, it's sort of the breadth of things that you can do. I can just tell you, even from Monday night, having dinner with those students at the lottery dinner, there were a couple different biology majors. One is interested in becoming a physician's assistant. The other one is interested in becoming a pediatrician. And so certainly you were touching on pre-health. We have a big health focus on pre-health that works through, many of them work through biology, biochem and the like. We also we have a very strong environmental science. And so we have a lot of students who are very interested in working on issues as they relate to sustainability or the green economy. And so biology is a great track for that as well. We already touched on veterinary school. We have a lot of students who go on to things like medical school, and I know, Melissa, we have a relationship with a medical school at George Washington that allows for early admission, if I'm not mistaken, into their medical school. So that's a big part of biology for sure.
Yeah, we definitely have three students there in the GW program so far. Our first to go is in his second year and is doing really neat things. He's just been commissioned as an ensign first class in the Navy as well, and spent a lot of time doing some research that's been published on traumatic brain injury. So he's very much out to find a cure for brain cancer. So cool things there. And he's actually applied to a SpaceX program as well. So
pretty cool. I don't know if she was a biology major, but it's pretty cool that a Mary Washington alum was the one who headed up the division for Johnson & Johnson in the development of their COVID-19 vaccine. So that's pretty cool.
Absolutely. She was my year. I'm not going to lie. Pretty proud of that. We're good. Okay, so lots of different directions. Oh, Sammy, are you waving at me? Or no? Okay, sorry. Okay, we're good. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about sports programs. So the question is, will they be in person? Do we think we can anticipate some full conference competition this coming year?
Yeah, that's the plan. We're in full competition with our spring sports right now. We've been able to do adequate testing, and the student athletes have been great in following our protocols to stay safe. And so our spring sports are in competition and having conference competition and conference championships. We have limited spectators right now, but we do have spectators following certain protocols. But it is our intention by the fall, of course, is that we would be able to have not only our regular conference competition, but really the full season competition with spectators as well. That's the plan.
We're excited to return to that. I miss volleyball and basketball are the two that I get to most often, but I definitely miss those pieces.
Yeah.
Question about the town. So maybe Sammy, you might have some input, but definitely Kyrie and President Paino, you too. But what are your favorite places to eat around Fredericksburg?
I want to hear from the students. I have my own, but I probably don't go to the student hangouts. That's probably, so I might not be the right one to ask, but I got to tell you, I love walking down the hill to downtown, and that's what I do quite often on weekends to enjoy downtown. But Kyrie, maybe you have a good answer.
Fredericksburg is a foodie town. I like to eat a lot. That is probably one of the biggest pastimes of college students is eating, because it's super important, and food is delicious and it gets you through a lot of things. But it depends on the day. So a lot of downtown businesses have specials throughout the week. So like Monday, like everyone knows, if you want like a nice steak and potatoes, it's $8 at Sedona. On Tuesdays, there's $10 burgers at Capitol Ale with French fries. Like Wednesday, there's like, I think it's Happy's, and they do like 25-cent wings. There's so many places to get food. Benny's, like giant slices of pizza the size of your face for like $5. Brunch is amazing. There's so many brunch places. There's Foodie, Mercantile. The list goes on and on. I like to eat, so I don't want to talk too much about food. But we can't forget Carl's. Carl's is a historic milkshake, ice cream, custard place in downtown Fredericksburg that opened like a really long time ago. And it's super good. And they're so like in their old mindset that they only take cash. And I never have cash. So I don't get to go there as much, even though I live off campus, but I can like literally like see it from my house and I don't go. But it's fantastic when you do. So have cash for that.
Yeah, that's very old timey. When Melissa mentioned that I rode a horse, I actually rode the horse to Carl's and enjoyed an ice cream cone with the horse, and the horse actually got a lick of the cone. I don't know if Carl's had ever had someone go through the walkthrough riding a horse before, so that was pretty cool.
And I have a tweet from Sammy. Sammy says that Sammy's handler really likes Carl's, Orofino, which is a really nice Italian restaurant, Vivify, a good burger place, and it has a really nice rooftop deck out there. And Agora, I also agree with Agora. Agora is the best coffee, in my opinion, in Fredericksburg.
So it's a lot of great coffee places, but yeah, I would agree. Agora is right up there. I got to tell you, Kyrie, I think you have a career as a food critic. I mean, I think I should. A real service.
I should. Like, I thought about creating like a food TikTok of Fredericksburg, because there's also Fork and Biscuit, and they're open until 3 a.m. So that's also good.
That's great. He was the man. I'm glad Kyrie was there to answer that. Wow, he knocked that one out of the park.
Well, I also love there. Just a little backstory. You talked about riding the horse, but you've also apparently ridden a mechanical bull. Do you want to tell us about that?
I'm no good at it. I mean, I think the point of all of this is that I'm willing to make a fool of myself, and I do it. I do it gladly. If a student asks me to do something, I'm pretty much like, okay, I'll do it, and usually make a fool of myself in the process.
So devil goat day traditions. If there's a mechanical bull, you can ask President Paino to go for a ride, and he may say yes. So
yep, that is exactly right.
He was good. He didn't even try two-handed. He had one hand up, and he was. I think the operator just wanted to. I think you did pretty well. The operator wanted to give you a hard time.
Well, I know you all are too young for this, but I was just channeling. I don't know if anyone has ever seen the movie Urban Cowboy. John Travolta. Do you? Okay, we're dating ourselves.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's on to the next question.
Okay, well, the next question, we've got a couple of little bit of, well, let me ask this one first. Just, Kyrie, you talked about students getting discounts downtown. So you can pretty much eat your way through the downtown area based on student specials in different places. You kind of covered that one already, I think. We're good.
Yeah. And then I see one, it says, do students get discounts in shops and restaurants? There's some of them have like a Mary Washington like flag in their window, and they do different things. I know like a Chipotle takes like our Eagle One money. I just spend money frivolously. Like I pretend like I'm a rich college student and I'm not. So I will spend money on food and not have gas in my car. Opportunity cost, am I right? But there are places in Fredericksburg that give student discounts. And then also all the discounts would just come being like in college, like Netflix, Hulu, all that stuff too. So it's great too. The little perks.
Sounds good. Yes, Eagle $1. It's like a credit that you can load on your ID card, and you can use it at local restaurants, including Chipotle, at Chick-fil-A, Noodles and Company, and some other places around town. So very, very convenient. A couple of questions. Where do we go to receive packages? Post office. We actually have a post office on campus where you can mail and receive care packages from home. Mom, dad, family who love you, who love your kids. Send them gifts of love and let them know you're thinking of them. They will very much appreciate that, especially random surprises. There's a question, Kyrie, do you have curfews?
No, we don't have a curfew, but it is very important that you do get sleep. It is 8 hours recommended. But even though we don't have a curfew, you should be in bed at a normal time.
Well, and we definitely, I don't know if you want to speak to safety, President Paino, like yeah. It brings up a good topic of making good decisions and just the support that we do have for students.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, Kyrie's right. We don't have curfews, and certainly part of college is transitioning to adulthood and taking responsibility for your actions. And we certainly want to make sure that you have plenty of opportunities. And sometimes with those opportunities, mistakes are made, and we understand that. But one of the things that we do value on campus is safety and security. And so we're very invested in that. And so even though there's no curfew, there is a key card system that restricts access to residence halls. Only those who are residents have access to those halls. And so that's critically important. We also have a police department, and we have a lot of blue lights, we have phones where you can access and get help immediately if you ever feel unsafe. There are opportunities for people to be escorted as well. If you ever feel unsafe in any way, shape, or form, we certainly encourage you to access our police department and others to make sure that you remain safe. But we really do keep the buildings secure, even if you can stay out late and as late as you want. The buildings are secure, and we certainly try to do everything we can to make sure that our students are safe.
I want to be sensitive to time because it is just about on the hour of 7 o'clock, and we do have a number of questions that are still in the queue. Yeah. And so we will, if you have asked it with your name, then we absolutely will follow up with you. If you would like to ask it of the admissions office, we're happy. If you've done it anonymously tonight, we're happy to follow up. If you would email admit@umw.edu your question, we will absolutely get back to you as well. I think because we are right at 6:59, I'm going to wrap us up tonight, if that's okay, y'all. I really appreciate your time. I want to invite all of you to join us this fall. I know we have a mixed group of students who've made decisions and some of you that are still considering your opportunities. I just want to let you know that if you need help with any of your next steps, whether that is to confirm your place in the class or with your questionnaire or orientation registration, which is going to open within the next couple of days, so stay tuned for that. We are here to help you in admissions, so don't hesitate to reach out. This is just a quick look at the really big, important next steps as you kind of move forward. Completing your first year questionnaire, your housing and dining agreement, orientation, registration are all going to be steps that are going to allow us to help you onboard and get settled in a little bit virtually in the beginning and then move in August. So we are very much looking forward to that. If you are still determining if Mary Washington is a good fit, I encourage you to check out our virtual information sessions that we have throughout this month. We have about 30 different sessions scheduled, academic sessions, as well as residence life sessions coming up, student affairs, tours of spaces. We really want to show you what we have to offer and make sure that your questions are answered. If you have questions about your financial aid award, we're also happy to sit down with you and review it line by line. We're happy to schedule a Zoom to do that. If you haven't joined the student or parent Facebook group, it's a great way to meet people and keep up with what is happening as you take these next steps. And if you'd like to spend time with us in person, we are open for visitors with some restrictions. You must be masked and we will abide by social distancing, but you can definitely register online at umw.edu/visit. Our students are in class until April 30th. At that point, they'll finish up with a reading period and then go into exams the next week. And so as long as they are in class, we are having tours and we welcome you. So please feel free to register in advance. If you just want to pop in on campus, please bring your mask, wear your mask, but you can also follow a self-guided virtual tour as you walk around. Panelists, any final thoughts before we say goodnight? Anyone want to say anything else?
Well, I'm happy to say something. You know, just again, thank you so much for being with us tonight. If you got anything from this, I hope you got that we really, really love our students, and we hope that you become one of them. Even if you don't, we'll still love you, but we'll love you more if you come to Mary Washington.
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely. Anyway, thank you so much. We hope to see you this summer.
Very special thank you to you, President Paino. Thanks, Kyrie and Sammy, for joining us. And thank you all for joining us. We look forward to welcoming you on campus this fall. Have a good night.